Hello, and welcome to episode number 2 of the Contrarian Marketing Podcast, where we give you ideas you might not be thinking about. Today, we're exploring whether smart devices will fundamentally change marketing or not. Smartphone usage is at an all-time high. Google and Amazon have developed visions for ambient computing, and leading tech companies are working on mass market AR and VR devices. So the question is, will marketing change fundamentally as a result? Or not. Today's episode is sponsored by ClearScope. ClearScope is the leading SEO content intelligence platform that helps thousands of content teams from businesses like Adobe, Shopify, Condé Nast, NVIDIA, Deloitte, Intuit, and HubSpot drive more search traffic. Check out clearscope.io and be on the lookout for a fantastic new content optimization feature that's currently in beta. And now, on to the show.
Hey, Kevin. It's great to be back here on our second episode of a Contrarian Marketing Podcast, where we give you ideas you might not be thinking about and take the opposite sides of what you might not be thinking about. Today, we decided we're going to explore the question of whether mobile devices or devices in general matter that much for marketing in the future. Again, today's podcast is sponsored by ClearScope. It's also week number 2 of Twitter chaos. And a lot of people have been avoiding Twitter chaos by doing some dinosaur called Mastodon. Are you on Mastodon?
I am on Mastodon. Yeah, I'm on Twitter and both on Mastodon. The reason is I want to try out Mastodon, and I have to say I was a little disappointed so far. Had a couple of outages where the service was just simply not available, and that could have different reasons. But on the other hand, it's kind of cool to talk to like a very small group of SEOs again. It has a feeling of like early Twitter. I actually think that Twitter is going to survive. And I also wonder, like, is Mastodon just going to become like a second Twitter? And are people just going to use both? That's kind of my take. Are you on Mastodon?
No. I'm still on Clubhouse.
That's where the party's at. It's in the Clubhouse.
I'm waiting for everyone to come back to Clubhouse. Like, Clubhouse has been waiting for Twitter to just go away, and then everyone's going to remember all those hours they wasted on Clubhouse and building up fans and followers. So I think I'll wait. I got burned earlier this year, or was it last year, on Clubhouse? So when everyone else is on Mastodon, I'll get on Mastodon. But in the meantime, I'm still on Twitter, and I think a lot of people are still on Twitter. But maybe we should talk about this another episode. But let's talk about mobile devices. What we're going to do, and this is the first week of us doing this, and for all the listeners that this is your first week listening, you haven't missed anything. We're going to discuss a topic, and Kevin and I are going to choose which side of the topic we want to take. And I'm sure half of you are going to agree with us and the other half of you are going to disagree with us. So there's always someone to agree with here. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to flip a coin. If you Google flip a coin on Google, I don't know if Bing does it. I don't know who uses Bing, but if you Google flip a coin, there's a coin flipping tool there. Kevin's going to call heads or tails. And then Kevin gets to decide whether he wants to say that mobile devices and devices in general matter or not. Freestyle it from there on what the future is, and then wrap up with a prediction. Hopefully, all of you listeners, you can weigh in on which of us is completely wrong and which of us is totally right. And at the end of the future, then we'll know who won. But let's go over flip that coin.
Coin flip, not to be confused with Coinbase, where you can also flip a coin.
I thought you do that on FTX.
Yeah, just realized service is down. Site is down as of this morning. Man, am I happy that I don't have anything. No coins on FTX. Anyway, back to the actual coin.
All right,
Eli, let's flip this.
Heads or tails?
Tails. Eli's flipping the coin, and it's tails, tails.
And you won.
And I won. Okay, cool. I'm going to pick the counter side. I'm going to say that device assistants are not going to fundamentally change marketing in the future.
All right, great. I'm really happy that you picked the wrong side here. So let's get into it. So would you mind explaining why, after billions of dollars have been spent on device assistants in cars and homes and in the CIA and whoever else is listening to these things, why do you think this doesn't matter?
Okay, look. So after winning the coin flip in the first place, I'm also going to win this debate. And the reason is, if you look back at how devices that already have been popular change marketing, then there isn't really a big change. Let's look at one of the most popular devices of the last decades, which is clearly the iPhone, probably one of the most successful products out there. period, how has the iPhone really changed marketing? It has opened new channels to marketing, right? Like you can advertise on the App Store of Apple, but the fundamental way to do marketing, to get attention, to persuade customers, has not really changed. There are native formats that are on smartphones now, right? Like, so in the beginning, it was basically a computer. It was just a small computer in your pocket. That was a sales pitch. And then there were native formats that came out of that, like native apps on the iPhone or podcasts. But, you could even say stories are a native smartphone format of content. But all these things work after the same fundamental marketing principles, which is about attention, desire, product positioning, placement, getting people to buy, and all that kind of good jazz. That's my core argument: is that marketing is the same, the format changed.
I gotta disagree. Everything about devices reduces friction to things that we can do to spend more money and pay attention to more marketing. Imagine a world where, yes, the internet was faster, but we didn't have mobile devices, and you decide you want to buy something, and you have to take out a notebook and write it down or write it on your hand. When I go home, I'm going to go to the website, Amazon.com, and I'm going to buy it. But devices have removed that friction. Now you can just go buy it right away. Or you can take a picture of something, or you go to Target and you take a picture of the barcode and decide to buy it straight from Amazon while you're in Target. I think that marketing means that now you can do all those messages. You can target someone using Facebook that they're in Target and bring them over to your e-commerce store. So I think that the ability to know where people are, to know what languages people are speaking, to follow them and know that at any point in time they can respond to marketing, to me, that's the biggest change. But I actually think that when we talk about removing friction and removing or actually creating abilities to do even more things, we have to think about what else phones can do and what else devices can do, which is, you're talking about the general iPhone. I think the extra things it can do, like take a picture of something, use it to find that, or voice. We got to get into voice. We got to talk about like how voice is changing everything. Because I think, again, removing friction, making it easier to do stuff. That's why I think marketers have to think about how much more connected we are. What are your thoughts on voice?
Man, I'm on the completely opposite side. I think voice had its shot, and I think that shot went nowhere. If you remember when Comscore predicted that by 2020, 50% of all searches will come from voice devices, I am not so sure. I think I remember like the last time that I heard a stat about voice was in 2018. And it was barely a bit more than 25% of mobile users using voice search. And so my stance here is that voice searches have a place, but they're all very simple prompts and questions, right? They're prompts like call Aunt Karen or navigate to Pizza Hut, right? Or how many cups are in a pound or whatever, right? When you're cooking. So these are all very simple questions, very basic, simple prompts, but they're not really changes to how to do marketing. And these are all post-purchase prompts, right? So there's no kind of surface or marketplace where you can bid or pay for appearing in any voice results, right? It's all basically, hey, I have this product or I have this need. I already know what I want. I'm not in the decision-making process anymore. I basically just want to get to a destination or exactly what I want. Just help me get there faster. So you're right in the point that there is less friction, but you're wrong in the point that marketing has fundamentally changed or is very different. I think these devices are just accelerants. Eli, what's your take?
I think it's because you're an iPhone user. I think I have an Android. I just got the Pixel 7, so I even got the newest phone. I think I got like 8 Google Homes in my house. I do many of my searches with voice, either because I'm lazy or an early adopter, but either way, I do many of my searches with voice, and they're pretty good. Google's really good at that, and I love watching how Google transforms the strings. I think, again, we're talking about removing friction. The devices in cars, I don't know, we should do a survey on how many people are Googling while driving. Forget texting while driving, Googling while driving. And you can Google while driving if you're doing it with voice. And I think voice is just making it so much easier. And the fascinating thing is how good it is. Google can really understand things. The other night, my kids were playing this game. So I've had 4 kids and a 2-year-old. So it was yelling at the Google Home while the other kids were listening to music. He's yelling from the other room, stop. And then the Google would stop and he would change the playlist. The kids are listening to like their music and he's like, play Happy Birthday. And they would play Happy Birthday. It's really good. And I think, again, younger people, I see them do voice notes on texting apps. they're going, there's more voice happening. And I think the technology that enables that is removing friction. It changes the way marketers need to approach things from an SEO standpoint. The fact that Google or Bing or whatever device you're using to understand voice can put together all those words as strings and figure out what you're looking for. Yes, they have not monetized yet. It's going to be very hard to monetize voice. Imagine you do a search for something. It's like, hold on a moment. This search is sponsored by someone. or here's the paid result. Would you like the paid result or the organic one? So we're not there yet. But I think marketers need to realize that this is the way people are searching, doing stuff, not just searching.
I think the quality of that experience will depend on the quality of the technology. When I look back at the last 10 years or maybe 8 years, I think the quality just wasn't there yet, right? You still had to engineer prompts in the back end if you wanted to provide skills on Amazon Alexa or allow your app users to use voice in a certain way to command your app. I'm going to throw you a bone, okay? I'm going to say that one cool experience that I had with voice is that I have an Alexa here, right? So use Android. Sorry to tell you that there are now more Apple iPhone users than Android users. And you use Google Home. I use Amazon Alexa. And one cool thing, okay, that popped up that I'm going to give you is that Amazon Alexa started to ask me about if I wanted to reorder a product that I've constantly been ordering every month. So Amazon actually went back into my order history and saw, hey, every month Kevin is ordering protein powder. And then Alexa all of a sudden is like, hey, Kevin, why don't you order another type of protein powder? And I was like, okay, that actually makes sense. And you know what? I did it. I said yes. However, my comeback here would be that it doesn't tell me, hey, Kevin, why don't you order a different brand of protein powder, or this other brand is on sale right now. And I think the reason is that voice adoption just isn't yet where we thought it was going to be. I think it's still much, much below expectations, which is why Google and Amazon and Meta haven't really made an effort to monetize voice search or to open a marketplace here and a new chance for advertisers. I would even say that devices have been disruptive to marketing. So this is my contrarian view of the day, and I'm going to tell you why. If you think about the biggest thing that happened maybe in the last 12, 24 months in marketing, it is Apple tracking transparency, right? Meta, Snapchat, YouTube losing billions of dollars because Apple now asks iPhone users if they want to be tracked when installing an app. That in return takes away a lot of tracking capability from advertisers. And that is a net negative, right? Before we're able to target and speak to customers much more efficiently, now advertising prices are actually going up because tracking has gotten worse. And the reason is that Apple has decided that privacy is more important. I also, don't think that's kind of the main thing here. It's like a nice strawman argument, but that is actually a case where devices have made marketing harder. What's your comeback?
Oh, I got even more contrarian opinion on that one. According to something I Googled, 25% of US households have an Alexa device. That's incredible. And one of the things you can do with your Echo device and your Alexa device is you could order stuff, but you know what else you can do? You can search. I think could be that Trojan horse to Amazon taking on Google search. Now, are we all going to be doing searches on Amazon anytime soon? No. But when you think of who Google's competitors are in search, and last week we talked a little about TikTok, but I think Amazon could be a formidable competitor. Doing search, okay search, not great search, is not that hard for Amazon to do. And when you're doing searches on information, Amazon could also start organizing the web. And if you organize the web and Amazon becomes your default search engine, they could sell those ads on it. So I think marketers aren't paying attention that Amazon is now competing with Google on finding information, providing information. That is something you absolutely have to keep in mind.
You have to keep that in mind. And I would, and by the way, I think actually Google has formidable voice search capabilities in some areas. It's just not, it's just, like riffing off of what already worked for marketing in the past, like how does the landscape change when cars become smarter, when Meta and Apple eventually launch their VR glass. I mean, sure,
Not
Meta has
Meta. We're gonna
Oculus
give up
out.
on Meta. Yeah, we can give up on Meta.
We'll save the metaverse for a future episode here.
We'll save it for Amazon. They'll do metaverse before Meta does that.
It's likely, right? And so I think Amazon has a shot with Alexa. I think Google has a really good shot. However, when we look at the market distribution, I think Amazon is in way more households than Google here. So I think that's a pro to your argument that Amazon is actually in really good position to compete with Google. And at the same time, I wonder, what does the next generation of devices look like? So maybe we wrap up our arguments here, jump into the next part of the show. But just to like restate our arguments, I think that devices don't make a big difference. I think that the basic marketing rules still apply, and maybe devices take away some friction. But at the end of the day, it's all about how to get attention from customers and monetize that attention. Eli, what's the summary of your arguments?
So I just want to make sure we don't allow you to leave everyone with that opinion on Amazon being more households. Amazon devices might be more households than Google devices, but Google phones are more households than Amazon devices. So if Google can figure out how to get more people doing those voice searches and Lens, I love using Lens. If they can get them using more of that image search on the phones, then they've beaten it. But I love that you're pointing out that Amazon devices are more households than Google devices if we're not including phones, because that's an opportunity. Now we have like this level playing field where it could be either. It may be Amazon tries another attempt at a phone, probably not. But I think marketing has changed. I think that these devices are absolutely going to change, the way people access information, the way people look for things. I mean, look how many people do those voice notes. I hate the voice notes on texting apps, but when you're doing voice and someone says, well, just I can't listen right now, well, then you're going to use voice and you're going to write it out. I've met people that wrote books by just speaking to Google Docs. The voice to text technology has gotten so good that I think marketers ignore this at their peril.
I could wait until I can write my whole newsletter with just a voice prompt. We'll see how that turns out. But if I think about, like what marketers do differently in the next 12 months, my stance, my opinion here is nothing. I think marketers still think about the basic foundations of marketing. They just have a different format in front of them. And the only thing that they should keep in mind is how do new formats come up, and how are they driven by new devices, right? Like similar to how maybe the Apple AirPods have enabled the way for a podcast, but because now you don't need to use your hands anymore. You can just listen to podcasts while you do other things, or how smartphones have opened the way to stories on Instagram Reels and Snapchat, right, and TikTok. The format might change, but the basic way to get attention and entertain people and speak to them and nurture them along their journeys, that is staying the same. And your point, Eli, I think is a different one about the next 12 months.
I just think that voice allows people to be more almost human. So instead of, you think back in the early days of the internet, the way you access things on AOL, you had a single keyword. I don't know if you remember those days where like one company is like, just Google love on not Google, AOL love on AOL, or AOL cars on AOL. And like one site owned it. And then we moved to this like head keyword state where you want to rank on a keyword, or you want to bid on that keyword. And I think voice is going to take us to the point where someone's like, I really want to do this very, very specific thing. I want to change this part on my car. Or you're doing, again, we're not going to focus just on voice, but you're doing a search with an image. I'm taking a picture of this screw and I need to find that exact screw in a hardware store near me. Or the leg of my chair broke and I need to find just that leg. Like those things are so specific. And I think if you're selling that, you now have an opportunity to, again, make your images visible, make your audio accessible, all of that. I think it changes the way, again, I don't know where this could go, but the technology is very interesting that you now have more ways of accessing customers, and you have to pay attention to these things and not just continue to think in a 2022 mindset. So with that, I think we have very clear defined opinions, and I think our listeners can decide which side they want to be on. Do they want to be like Kevin and be a dinosaur, or do they want to be like Eli and future looking and acknowledge the realities of technology? But let's I think weigh in on the comments. Weigh in on the comments on LinkedIn and what do you call that dinosaur? Mastodon. And check out our Clubhouse. discussions on this. Well, let's talk about some resources, that we looked at and thought about as we prepared the show. So what would you recommend someone check out?
Yes, my resource of the week is Tony Fadell's book, Build. Tony Fadell, for those who don't know, played a critical role at Apple in developing products like the iPhone and the iPad and others. Then he went on to start Nest, then did a whole bunch of other crazy innovative stuff. And in my mind, this book just summarizes really well how to build new innovative products while still, building on the foundations and the fundamentals that have been established for a long, long time. Eli, what's yours?
That's awesome. I want to check out that book. So mine is a book called Amazon Unbound. 10 years ago, an author named Brad Stone is a Bloomberg journalist. He wrote a book about Amazon. And it was one of the first books where anybody had written about Amazon from the inside. He was invited in and he sat with Bezos and he watched the company. And he thought the story was done. And he wrote the updated version 10 years later that includes like everything Amazon has done since then and how they became one of the biggest companies in the world, and Bezos' divorce and Blue Origin and all that. The reason I love that book, and I just finished it, it talks about how obsessed Bezos was with Alexa and how when they came up with this idea, it made no sense. Like there was none of this existed. The idea of understanding human speech to find stuff and do stuff, they'd never done it. The understanding and speaking back to users and having that conversation. But this was Bezos' idea. And the book is so thorough that the author went and found the voice of Alexa, which is something that Amazon never released before. And he did his research. Yeah, I would love to be a writer like that. They could, put that much work in. He devoted one entire paragraph to her, and that's it. Someone in North Carolina, but that is a lot of work to find that voice. So check out the book. It's called Amazon Unbound, and we'll drop it in the show notes. Drop both these books in the show notes.
The question is, did he find that woman through voice search or through Google search? I'll leave that up to the reader to imagine. Another quick plug for a great book about Amazon is Working Backwards by Colin Breyer and Bill Carr. It's much more about how to work at Amazon. Just finished it, learned a ton. Strong recommendations. We're also going to have that in the show notes. And Eli, why don't we wrap it up with some predictions? What do you think is going to be the next big thing, like the next iPhone, the next big device? What's your take?
So it's not an iPhone. See, you're focused on the iPhone ecosystem. I think it's going to be some sort of home device that's better at doing what the existing home devices are. I think that Meta was onto something with Portal, where you want to have a device that actually corresponds with people, but I don't think they had the right platform for it. My kids use Google Home to call me. They could go to talk to Google and say, call dad, and it uses the internet to call me. I think there are more devices like that. I think that the Google Home is pretty useless right now. It's a screen that you can Google stuff with, but doesn't have a keyboard. I think we'll get one with a camera, maybe one that's like, it does more tablet kind of stuff, but I think we have one in the future. What's yours?
So my take is that it might not be a single device after all. I think it's much more the combination and connection of different devices. And that goes back to this vision of ambient computing that Google has and has been pretty loud about. Amazon has a very similar vision, but the company that actually does it the best so far is Apple, in my mind, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because everything in the Apple ecosystem works flawlessly with each other, right? You can write text from everywhere. You can connect devices. You can now also move windows from one device to the next one without any friction. And so I think the next big thing is going to be all these ecosystems where devices work flawlessly together, where you have a seamless experience no matter where you are, and where these devices also understand the situation you're currently in. For example, are you at home? Are you in a car? Are you on your way to work? And they will understand what your behaviors are in these different locations and situations, and then make the experience even better. So my kind of maybe contrarian stance of the about this question and prediction is actually that it's not going to be a single device. It's more going to be ecosystems that are going to be the next big thing.
Love it. We didn't even talk about watches. We'll have to save that for another episode.
There you go. Cool. Eli, I think this is a wrap.
This is good. All right. Kevin is great. Everyone subscribe, give us feedback. This is episode number 2 of the Contrarian Marketing Podcast.
And now it's your turn. Head over to contrarianmarketingpodcast.com and subscribe to the free weekly newsletter to get a summary of today's episode, key takeaways, and community content. And while you're there, go to today's episode and leave your opinion in the comments. We'll feature the best thoughts in the newsletter and on the podcast. Also, if you like today's episode, please feel free to leave 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. As always, thanks so much for tuning in, and see you next week.